Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Trevor Owens.
Great. So a recent study of 3,000 entrepreneurs found that 80% of them believe their chance of success is at least 70%. Now, I'm sure this isn't surprising to many of us. I spent the last 3 years traveling the world working with entrepreneurs, trying to help them become more successful by making better decisions. And so today, I want to share with you the 5 major biases that I see in building new products. Hopefully, you can take something away from this talk and apply it back to your own work. Now, in this world, we're obsessed with the outliers. We're obsessed with the companies like Facebook and Twitter, and we want to figure out what made them successful. And a lot of times, we look at the simple things they did, and we think that we know what we can do to be just like them. Unfortunately, this is called the hindsight bias. And the hindsight bias is that we see the past as being more predictable than it actually was. And so this is the Knevin framework, and it taught me something that was important. That is, on the left side, we see things that where the startups operate in complex and complicated environments. On the right side, we see where an established business operates. That is in the simple and complicated. Now, every startup starts on the left side in the chaotic environment, and by the time we know about it, it's actually in the simple domain. So this is essentially why we see hindsight bias. So these are mentors at our workshops. And these mentors have a lot of success in their own entrepreneurial ventures, and they come in and they give all kinds of different advice to entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, many of the advice that they give is conflicting with each other. And so no matter how successful we are, we're going to have different opinions on things that will lead to success and what we should do in any given situation. As entrepreneurs, we have to make up our own minds to get out of the building and find out for ourselves what is the best course of action. Now, to overcome hindsight bias, there's a simple trick. That is setting a success criteria for every experiment that we run. A success criteria is a prediction about what's going to happen in the future. And by setting a success criteria, when we actually get out of the building and run an experiment, we can come back and compare what happened to what we actually thought was going to happen. Whereas if we didn't do that, when we got out, we would see that what actually happened was more predictable than it actually was. And that would prevent us from learning. Now, this is one of my favorite musicians, and he represents one of my favorite biases. That is the overconfidence effect. And the overconfidence effect is that we believe our judgments and our abilities are actually better than they are. And so who here knows someone from Lake Wobegon? Anybody? Raise your hand if you know someone. OK, great. You guys didn't fall for my trick because this city actually doesn't exist. But what this Lake Wobegon effect has shown is that doctors, investors, and college students all believe on the majority that they are better than the average. And so what we don't want to do is we don't want to think we're stupid. However, what we see is that most startups fail not because they didn't have the right ability, but because they just spent time working on the wrong things. The good news is that all of you are here at this conference is because you understand that you need a better way to build companies. And so most people that I talk to that avoid adopting these principles is because they're overconfident in their actual odds of success. And so failure is the ultimate way to become humble. Now, next, one of my favorite and most common of all the biases in developing new products is confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is a tendency to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs. And so essentially, we're putting blinders on to look at only the data that confirms our existing beliefs. And we see this all the time in business planning, because the act of business planning is looking for information on Google that we can actually take back and build a persuasive argument about why we should get funding. However, this doesn't lead us to actually question our true beliefs, because we all believe that our business ideas are like this. We believe they're precious and beautiful. And we don't want anyone to tell us that they're not, because then we would cry. Now, the key is that we don't want to be afraid, because fear is the foundation of all confirmation bias. And I can spot someone with confirmation bias almost immediately because I just look at the riskiest assumption in their business. And when someone has the riskiest assumption that is actually not the biggest risk, it means that they're avoiding the biggest risk. And so that's how you know when someone doesn't want to be proven wrong. But here's a trick for all of you in this room about how you can figure out the risky assumption in your business. And that is by talking to Brant Cooper, another speaker here, because he will tell you exactly the riskiest assumption in your business, and you can get out of the building and test it. But you should be ready, because what it's going to feel like is like this. It's going to feel like getting punched in the face. Because when we're actually passionate about something, and we set the biggest risk out there to look at, and we set it out there to fail, it's going to make us uncomfortable. And that's how we know that we're running a good experiment, because we've actually set ourselves up to be vulnerable and up to fail. Now look at this picture for a moment and think about how it makes you feel. Now I know it makes you feel uncomfortable, and that's because researchers make us uncomfortable. And this is the observer effect. The observer effect is that researchers make us change our behavior when we know they're studying us. And so the best experiments are ones where we don't actually know what they're studying or if we're even being tested. Now look at this guy, and he looks very happy. Unfortunately, he's miserable because these three people are peer pressuring him into giving them reasons why their product is amazing. Whereas if we look at this guy, he's actually uncomfortable, but what he's giving this other individual is good feedback about how he can improve his product. So when you run experiments or when you interview customers, you never want them to feel like they're being interviewed, or else you're going to bias the results. When I interview people, I don't ask them to interview them, I just start asking them questions. And another great technique, which I saw you guys have already heard about, is called the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is a great way to avoid the observer effect, because we don't actually have an individual who could be biasing the results or causing the subject to be biased. So this is the ideal environment to run experiments, someone that's in their natural, comfortable environment where they're going to behave like they normally would. The final bias is not only can we seek out information which is going to confirm our beliefs, but we are able as human beings to run experiments that will give us the exact data we want, and that is the experimenter effect. The experimenter effect is that we can have our own biases change the experiment unconsciously so that it gives us the data that we want. And so the main way this manifests itself is by asking leading questions, like would you pay for this or would you use this in the future? Or we cause people to give us the only one possible answer. For all of you here, isn't this the best talk that you have attended at 4:20 p.m.? Well, there's only one answer you can give, so thank you so much for confirming my beliefs that I'm the most awesome speaker. The experimenter effect can be very subtle. It's why that we run experiments and have double-blind studies. That way the researcher doesn't even know what they're testing, and they can't bias the participants in the study. Not only is it subtle, but it's also profound. This is why researcher after researcher has been able to prove that psychic abilities actually do exist. But what we've found is that those people believed already in psychic abilities, and those studies have not been reproducible by people who did not believe in psychic abilities. So, unfortunately, while many of us try to be disciplined and run experiments, some of us might just be going through the motions, and we actually don't care about the truth. And so, when you're working with other people, you want to make sure that the people that are running experiments care not about the result, but about the truth. And it's why that we always want to have a skeptic on our team, someone who can do the pair interviews with us, someone who can keep us accountable, and someone who can give us the feedback that we need to know if there's any bias in our own research. So in summary, the 5 major biases that I see in developing new products. Hindsight bias. We can fix this by setting an actual success criteria for every experiment. So that way, our prediction can be measured against what actually happens. Overconfidence effect. The importance of failure is so important when we're having people that are testing new ideas, because they know realistically that their odds of success are not great. Confirmation bias. We don't want to seek out information that's going to confirm our beliefs. We want to set the true riskiest assumption and allow ourselves to fail. The observer effect. We don't want to bias our test subjects by having them know what we're testing. And finally, the experimenter effect. This is that we don't want our own biases to get in the way of our research. So this is a tool that we use at our workshops called the Javelin Board. It allows you to run a disciplined and accountable process and to spot biases and avoid them. And that's it. Thank you very much. I'll take a few questions on these 5 biases. Any questions? Yep.
Charleston Bell, President of Bound Innovations. Had a quick question for you regarding how do you actually achieve getting someone in their natural habitat? You gave the example of someone laying on the couch or whatnot. You know, if I'm approaching a person, I'm immediately kind of invading their space and whatnot. So just some tips on how to implement.
Yep, so Intuit is famous for doing follow me homes. It's where someone at the store actually buys a product and you say, can I follow you home to see you use this product in your home? So that's one way. Generally, you just want to make people feel comfortable, not uncomfortable. Yeah. Any more questions? All right, one more.
My name's
You have to have feedback. So you have to talk to domain experts who have done business in that area before, or a venture capitalists are very good at understanding through pattern recognition what the riskiest assumption is going to be. If you don't have access to those type of people, the only way to find the riskiest assumption is to just pick one and test it. And if you're successful, take on more risk, and then you'll find the next riskiest assumption and go one by one until you find that thing that causes you to fail. But generally speaking, most people know what the riskiest assumption is, and they're just too afraid to test it. All right, thank you guys so much.